With us, our old buddy Dean Obeidallah. He is the host of the Dean Obeidallah Show, weekdays 6 to 9 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on SiriusXM Progress Radio Channel number 127. Donald Trump really is disqualified from running for the White House because he gave aid and comfort. Well, actually, because he initiated an insurrection against the United States. How's that going? Have you, at the time, you had reached out to, as I recall, at the very least, the New Mexico Secretary of State. Any more feedback on that? Do you still think it's viable? And also, I'm curious, what do you think about the argument that David Frum made on NPR yesterday that this would be a disaster because if you succeeded in getting Trump off the ballot, it would simply cause the Trump humpers, his base, to believe that they had been, that the game had been rigged against them. Whereas if you leave him on the ballot and you beat his pants off, you just, he lost the first race by 3 million, the second race by 7 million. He'll probably lose the next one by 12 million. Then, that's kind of dust your hands off and say, end of deal.
The idea that beating Donald Trump and that he will accept the loss is rejected by reality. We lived through 2020. He lost badly in 2020. His supporters still think it was rigged and he lost. So beating him doesn't matter. He'll never accept a loss. So that argument to me is such a waste of time. The idea of let's just ignore the Constitution to make MAGA feel better is a historical mistake. It's something historians will look back and go, why didn't you try everything to defeat fascism in your country? Oh, because David Frum said it's going to upset MAGA. I don't care how angry MAGA gets. I view MAGA as a domestic terrorist threat, to be blunt. And I think there's Republicans who are different, who are conservatives, we disagree on policy. I'm happy to debate them. To me, MAGA is a fascist movement that's embraced violence. And we're seeing it with Ron DeSantis last night, Tom, on Eric Bolling on Newsmax vowing to pardon the Proud Boys. They view the Proud Boys as Hitler had his brown shirts. Yep. The same idea of violence. So to me, getting back to the issue, I'm happy to say that I saw in Colorado a lawsuit filed with the help of Crew, a great organization that were able to, they were the ones that disqualified the New Mexico County Commissioner because of his violation, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. They filed a lawsuit. That's happening there. I had on the Michigan Secretary of State, Jocelyn Benson, on my show yesterday. We talked about it. We talked at length. I asked like 10 questions on it. And she's a former law school dean, so it was a very law school classroom. She said she thinks there's a strong case to be made that Donald Trump is barred. But like I say, and she says, and all reasonable minds say, ultimately it has to go to the courts. There has to be due process. Trump should have his attorneys there. They can argue. It's going to likely go to the Supreme Court. And whatever the decision is of the Supreme Court, I will abide by it. He'll have to abide by it. I love the Trump supporters going, well, if you knock him off the ballot, we're just going to write his name in. They don't get Section 3 of the 14th Amendment. It's not just being on the ballot. You can't hold any office in America. That's what it says. It's not. You can't.
Even if elected.
It's like writing someone in who was born in another country for president or who's 30 years old for president. Our Constitution doesn't allow it. People must view the 14th Amendment the same way we view that you have to be 35 years old and born in the U.S. to be a president. It's a qualification condition. It's not some parliamentary trick. It's literally the part of the Constitution. You were disqualified from any office, let alone president, because the framers of the 14th Amendment wanted loyal people. They called it loyal men to be in positions of power. If the 14th Amendment framers were here and they saw Trump, they'd be leading the charge with us to disqualify him, saying this guy led an insurrection. He led a coup. He should be in a prison cell.
Thaddeus Stevens would be going nuts right now. I mean, the leader of the radical Republicans in the Senate. He would be going nuts. So,
look, it's going to, and my new article is about, yes, we all have argued that Trump is engaged in an insurrection. That's the language in the 14th Amendment. But my new article is that he's continuing to violate that section by giving aid and comfort to the insurrectionists. And I don't mean just words like promises of pardons. 2 weeks ago, he had an event at his country club for the January 6th terrorists. Yeah. It was a fundraiser for them. He joined in June. Same thing. This group that is headed by a woman whose nephew is in 4 years in jail, a white supremacist who used to dress up like Hitler. Literally, used to dress up like Hitler. I'm not kidding, folks. He's in jail for 4 years. He was part of that rally and raising money there. This is like after Oklahoma City terrorist attack, saying, I'm going to defend and pardon the terrorists who attacked it. I'm going to raise money for them. But this is worse. This was an insurrection targeting to prevent the peaceful transfer of power.
Right.
And he's still out there raising money for them. That is literally aid and comfort under the definition that's been interpreted, Section 3. And also it mirrors the the treason law and aid and comfort there, and you can look for guidance there.
Is that something that is prosecutable? Is this something that the Department of Justice should be looking into?
It's not going to be treason. No, Section 3 of the 14th Amendment doesn't have a criminal penalty.
No, I'm not talking about Section 3. I'm talking about giving aid and support to criminals. I guess everybody's entitled to have somebody raise money for them, right? I mean, but we might find it offensive, but...
Right. You can do it. The difference is the way Section 3 of the 14th Amendment was contemplated and the way it was applied after the Civil Wars. They looked at people if they took overt acts and they were influential people. They actually used the word influential in describing banning certain members of Congress who were elected from the Confederacy into the state. So for me, Donald Trump providing legal aid to someone, that could be protected. But as the Supreme Court said in the case of U.S. versus Howe, a treason case, even legal acts can be viewed as aid and comfort to the enemy, depending on your intent. Donald Trump is building an army, my friends. Understand that the insurrection's not over. He promises to pardon the Proud Boys and the January 6th terrorists to send a message to future people. When we get close to the 2024 election, I need you. I might call on you. Stand back and stand by. I said that to the Proud Boys. He's saying it to his base. So I will pardon you. I need your action. Donald Trump should not be on the ballot. It is such an insult to our nation, to women and men who sacrificed their lives fighting for our nation, that a man who incited a terrorist attack on our capital and orchestrated a coup is even allowed to walk free. I find that insulting, personally insulting to me as an American.